Welcome to Going In Blind. I'm your host, Zach Tidwell, and my guest this week is Miss Jill Chalsty, who is the founder of the Overcoming Obstacles Life Skills curriculum and the nonprofit behind it, which is the Community for Education Foundation, where over the past years, they have now served over 180 million, with an M, million students worldwide, and trying to fill some critical gaps, I think, in our education system and maybe even in our society's teachings just as a whole. Maybe some things that we've gotten away from. Obviously, going to dig into her story and the story behind all of that today, but I think we're also probably going to get into some nitty gritty shortcomings of the American education system and other things like that. So this will be a great one as always. But before we get into it, just a couple quick announcements. If you're new to the show, head on over to my website at zachtidwell.com so that you can see the incredible story behind this show and the work that we're trying to do here. If you have been listening for a while, you can head on over there and join my mailing list as well to get updates about two big things that I have coming down the pipeline. And also, while you're at it, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel there, hit the like button and share these conversations around. Or if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave a rating and review. That helps me keep drawing in these high caliber guests that we've been so fortunate to have since the show started. And I think that's all I have for you guys today. So, Jill, thank you for coming on.
Zach, thank you for having me.
Yeah, this has been a bit of a long time coming. We're both hunkered down. You're out in New York getting bombarded. I guess it's for people listening. We're recording this near the end of January with the colossal cold front that is sweeping across the country. So this is a perfect day for a podcast. It's gross outside and we can just hunker down and really step through all of this and with the level of granularity that we need to. So with with all of that, I know, and I listened to your TEDx talk, and I think the story behind you getting into, I guess, the life skills coming on your radar and the importance of them was very impactful. And so could you start there?
Yes, overcoming obstacles came about because I was bullied in my middle school years horribly. Things that were done to me shaped how I see myself today. And then the 10-year high school reunion, that young woman who bullied me and others came up and apologized to me. And that apology led me to understand that there was something out there called life skills education. She was actually teaching it as part of 12-step programs to make amends for the wrongs that she had done, but also to recover from alcohol and drug addiction. So she said, hey, if we had learned life skills when we were young, our lives would be very different. And I think about today, kids with cyberbullying and what they're going through, and it's so much worse. The things that she did to me, she put a poster up, really horrible images. I could tear those down. Cyberbullying, those things last forever. And something as simple as learning how to ask for help. She told me, and I agree, that could have changed our lives and prevented a lot of suffering for us. So I've committed through this Overcoming Obstacles Life Skills curriculum, which is available for free worldwide, translated into 30 plus languages,
Wow.
helping educators teach kids the skills they need to achieve their dreams.
I think this is also important for us to talk about, I guess, because bullying, as you touched on, is in a almost a different era with the advent of social media entering the schools, or not the school systems, but entering, the lives of kids who are in school, and at a time where their judgment is not particularly good, so they aren't fully considering the outcomes of their behaviors. Not that bullying was ever good, but it's the fact that it can follow you home now, I think has proven to be an especially nasty kind of tint that's been added to all of that, right? Like you used to be able to go get stuffed in a locker and then go home and still be at home and go back about your day for a couple hours and get some respite, where now you might be getting just slandered essentially constantly. And if it's a popular kid at school, they have a bigger voice than you, that is going to continue getting magnified, and that there's nothing that you can do about that. And when you don't have the life experience to have a wider perspective on the world and realize that this is a temporary thing, I mean, that leads, especially teen girls seem to be most heavily affected by this, to suicide, which is obviously near and dear to my heart. But with you, this was all pre-social media, correct?
Correct. And Zach,
And go ahead.
and Zach, I just want to say too, thinking about it, like I said what I said, you just said what you said. But when I came home from school, even though there was no social media on a phone, there were no such things as cell phones back then or computers in the 1970s. When I came home, I was still haunted. And I was still haunted as an adult. I'm still, when I look in the mirror, I still see those images that she posted. And by the way, when I went back and spoke with her after the reunion, this young woman had the notebook with the original ugly drawing that she made of me. She still had that notebook. She gave me one of those, I don't know, you're a lot younger, but they had those divider pages with a little plastic thing on the end. You put biology. She still had that. She gave it to me. I have that. And, there's rarely a day going by that I don't think back at young Jill and the pain that I went through, despite the fact that there was no social media. And those young people like myself that were bullied so horribly, they're the parents today, the grandparents. I'm about to age out of the corporate world, but they were workers or are workers and employers and employees. So the damage that was done then, it still lives.
And I had some small bouts of stuff in like elementary school where a little scuffle would take care of things. And then I definitely, and I'm not proud to admit this, but I was shitty to some people in middle school. Definitely, it wasn't to the bullying extent, but like I was outwardly a prick to specific people because I wasn't doing, it's insecurity, and it's not, obviously I'm not justifying my behavior there, but I've never been on the receiving end to an infectious extent like that, where it is actually someone is attacking you on a personal level and that is haunting you. It sounds to me, hearing you talk about, like it's almost, probably especially at that time as you're forming your own personal image of yourself, like foundationally shaking. Is that, would that be accurate?
Absolutely. And a bully doesn't have to say anything true, right? And for you and coming out right now, maybe you've said it on some other podcast or in some of your other interviews, coming out as saying, yeah, I was a bully. I write about in Packets of Hope because when I wrote my memoir, I was reflecting back on my childhood and my adulthood. So people are either bullied, they're bullies, or they're both. No one escapes bullying. And I know through life skills education since 1992, seeing how teaching self-respect, respect for others, conflict resolution, how to ask for help, communication, decision-making, goal setting, those skills formally taught in school, how that changes children's lives. The bullies stop bullying. Those who were bullied speak up and out for themselves. They find their voices. So what frustrates me and what makes me go on a podcast like yours and others and do interviews, and I want people to know, and Zach, I challenge you today, life skills education is the solution to every single social ill someone can think of. And we've seen it now. We've tested it. We've got qualitative and quantitative research. So there's no excuse right now to not teach those skills to our children.
When you say we, are you talking about you and your organization?
Every teacher on the planet who has taught life skills to their children, to their students, every parent who has a child who has learned life skills in school, and every child who has learned life skills knows that education is a life changer for them.
Yeah, but that's anecdotal, not qualitative. And I agree, right? I'm asking if you have a place where this is like where people can go see the outcomes of studies or
We've been studied since we started in 1992. So if people want to go to overcomingobstacles.org, there's a results page. And most recently, it was Rutgers University. Before that, it was the Riley Institute at Furman. Dick Riley was our Secretary of Education. He was the governor of South Carolina. So there's an institute at Furman that he's very much involved with. He's a big proponent of overcoming obstacles. They did a study. The Community Development Department of the City of Los Angeles did a study. Georgia and Atlanta did a study. So we have been studied forever.
I love that.
And also it's just intuitive.
Yeah. That's awesome. Like that's exactly what I was hoping for when you started saying we have proof to show it is that because you can't argue with that, especially and other people, multiple organizations. It sounds like there's probably countless people who have studied at this point. Like that is science is the fact that it is repeatable, right? And that you achieve the same outcomes. So
Can I share a story
yeah,
with you about my personal experience?
absolutely.
So, again, not to be gratuitous and pitching a book. The book is free, so it's not like I'm trying to, you know, earn money from packets of hope. The book is out there. It was published in October, and one of the stories that I share was my birthday, March 27, 2 years ago. I was at Memorial Sloan Kettering Hospital here in New York, having the upper left half of my lung removed. So it's the upper left lung removed. Surgically, I had cancer. I have the great misfortune of having two primary cancers, one in the upper left, one in the lower left. They couldn't remove the whole left lung because if you do that, your heart shifts and you die. So I was never a smoker, developed this cancer. I had been a caregiver for my husband for years. I had already had a double mastectomy and took care of John. He passed. He was my oxygen and my reason to get up every day. I was all alone, get this cancer diagnosis. I'm by myself at Memorial Sloan Kettering. 3, 4, 5 nurses, 6 had come in over the course of the first 3 days. I was in agony, Zach, absolute agony. I was doing that alternating Tylenol Advil thing. I didn't want oxy. I seen what that had done to my mom. I read the papers, I watch, I know what a slippery slope that is. So on the third night, I couldn't take the pain anymore. I hit the nurse's button and a new nurse comes in. I'm about to say, I'm going to take an oxy. Please give me a pill. I can't take this pain anymore. This young woman walks in. She looks at me. She starts to ask me questions. She says, "Where is your pain?" I said, "It's in my back." So basically, bottom line here, she looked at me as a person. She assessed. She said, "Oh, your bandage is too tight." She said, "Oh, let's put a pillow behind your back." My pain went away. She said, "Let's talk." And so we talked. She said, "Are you retired?" I said, "No, I'm a life skills ambassador for overcoming obstacles." And she said, "A life skills ambassador, I learned life skills when I was in school." We talked more. She told me her middle school, where she learned it. She told me about the activity sheets. The next day I went to Vinnie Capone, who heads up overcoming obstacles. I called him. I told him about that. He goes, "Absolutely. Here it is. This is the school. They're teaching life skills." I was helped and kept from that slippery slope of drug addiction, which killed my mother, because this nurse looked at me as a person. She assessed me as someone with good life skills because she had learned life skills. I was very
And
grateful.
I'm just making sure I'm not missing something. It turned out to be your life skills curriculum that she had learned.
Absolutely.
Oh, that is crazy. Just this coming full circle. That is freaking wild. But
Yeah. And I've been helped by more people like that. A young man came in. We had had problems with our air conditioning and heating. Sweetest young man came in. He asked me questions. he was looking at it like it was a problem to solve. And I was like, oh my God, you're amazing. And I was just like effusive all over this young man. I said, how are you this way? He told me he learned life skills when he was in high school and he learned how to assess problems. And then I had a taxi driver. I ask everyone to engage with me about life skills and education. So I'm now meeting these young people that are out there and I'm benefiting from it. And I know
What is
others are as well.
what is that like when you hear that concretely that it was your curriculum that led to that?
I look at it as it's our curriculum. I also look at it as I took one big one for the team. No, it's
With
like,
the bullying?
oh yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah. If I had it to do over again, would I? I'd be very selfish if I said I wouldn't. But it's been a long, horribly painful path, just starting up a not-for-profit and people trying to abuse something as sacred as that third sector, the not-for-profit sector. I've seen it all. So it's been a very difficult path, but I suppose I have to say I would do it again. But I'm friends with some of our very first students back in the early 1990s. They're like adopted kids for me, or I'm their adopted mom. And their love is like wind beneath me to help lift me up.
Yeah. And I promise I will come back to Packets of Hope and the story behind that later. Obviously, there was a lot of anguish there emotionally and physically, but I want to stick on this education path. You proposed also just to help shape some of this and put concrete terms behind it all and what these life skills are that you're teaching. The same kind of stuff that you laid out in your TEDx talk. Like, what are these gaps that are the standard education system in America or elsewhere is missing? That because outside of obviously manual skills and things like that, and the ability to do finances, these are more really like people skills that I've heard you talk about.
Well, people skills for sure, but some of us, when we were growing up, heard about the three R's: reading, writing, and arithmetic. So when overcoming obstacles was first launched, I was talking about it as the base of the learning pyramid to try to help people grasp what this is. So I called it the fourth R, the skills relevant to success. But taking it a step further, you can't be good at math or learn English um, or learn how to write. You can't do any of that without communication, decision making, goal. At least you can't do it well. Goal setting skills. So these are people skills, but these are also study skills. These are the skills to get you through school doing well, get you on your path to, if it's college for you, college. If it's something else, then you're going to do well within it. It's going to get you to be, it'll help you be a better parent. So these are skills for success. And nobody would say, hey, you need to teach English, mom and dad, at home. Or, grandma raising the kids, you need to teach them algebra. Nobody says that. So why would they say you need to teach life skills at home, which is what we heard for a lot of years? I'm thrilled to say now nobody is really saying those things. I haven't heard it for years. Neither is Vinny, neither of our board members. What we hear is, where can we go to get this free curriculum? And yeah, we direct them to our website
Yeah.
and we're there to support them.
Well, I'll push back on that. I mean, during COVID, that is literally what was asked. It was, hey, parents, I know both working parents or both, a lot of households in this country are two working parents. And so now it's, oh, your kid's home from school. Like they may or may not pay attention. So this is on you to kind of teach them. And it is, I think backing up the life skills is that and it's, the asterisk here is that I don't have kids, so I can sit here and say this all I want, but I do think it is the responsibility of the parents to lean in on those life skills and like you're supposed to be shaping the humans that you created to become good and hopefully better humans even than you were. So I do think that's responsible or the responsibility of the parent at least to back that stuff up, not teaching like the technical stuff of algebra. Like who remembers algebra from high school? But
Well,
Yeah.
okay, so you could say it's the responsibility of the parents, and of course you're right, but I think most people are going to say parents didn't do a great job during COVID teaching their kids. Um, we don't even need to go there because COVID, the whole thing of everybody
It's a
being
can of worms.
and yeah, it was crazy. But a lot of folks had a renewed sense of respect for our teachers and the incredible job that they do. The good teachers, and so many of them are great teachers. But how can a parent who never learned life skills, Zach, teach them? They cannot. So now with this new generation or new generations, I've got, my friend Rosa, who's now on the board of Overcoming Obstacles. She's a mom. She's teaching Audrey, Mark, and Jai life skills. And she's a better mom because she learned them as a kid cutting class on her way out of school, dropping out. She stayed in because she learned life skills. Her teacher taught her overcoming obstacles. And now she's a better mother having learned those skills.
Yeah. And I mean, the counter to what I said was also, a lot of people don't have good home lives. So like having it taught in the schools then fills that gap for that to be able to carry forward in the future.
Yes.
It is. I mean, when you sat down to write all this, because my understanding from looking into your background was you have a bachelor's in philosophy, and then you ended up down this path. Was that all because of in between the time of, I know you did, public television stuff and the documentary stuff and the film stuff too, but was that all kind of what was interjected in the middle was interacting with this woman who had bullied you in high school, and that is what kind of made the dog leg in your path?
So I didn't see her until the 10-year high school reunion. So I was 28. From 18 to 28. And actually, yeah, so that decade, anything I did, the thread looking back on it was always life skills. So while I was in college, learning philosophy, studying that, my emphasis was ethics, respect for self, respect for others, studying the great philosophers and the modern philosophers. So that was a huge thread for me. And then the public television series, The Immortals, it was showing these great people in history. They're not anything different from you and me. They just have great, or from whoever, they just have great life skills. They were great communicators, makers, goal setters. I hadn't put two and two together at the time to say, oh, it's the missing link. But I was gaining that experience. And also something very important for me, at UCLA, I was studying philosophy, but I was in the engineering department and teaching problem solving and decision making as a peer teacher and tutoring college football players in my skills. So I'm like, I was immersed in all of this.
It was all there.
It was there. And then I just put it all together when Sarah, this former bully on her 12-step program path, told me about life skills education.
I hate that you had to go through it, but really, I mean, that's a beautiful kind of culmination into, and again, like you said, being thankful for the fact, like, or maybe not being thankful for the fact, I don't want to put words in your mouth, and I don't think that's what you said, but at least not, you wouldn't do it over again because of what has come of it. I think that points to having reached a healed point. Obviously, you've mentioned that you're still affected by the bullying every day, but like you've reached a healthy point of being able to retrospect on all of that and see that it has built to a greater good.
I'm going to say that having a double mastectomy, losing half a lung, losing the love of my life, not being able to dye my hair anymore because, so now I'm just gray. Those fumes are toxic and we have emphysema. You can't breathe that stuff in monthly to keep a look going. And going out, and being out there. My niece Lauren gave me the words, if there are haters, just remember they're not in the arena. Some wonderful writer, podcaster came up with that. And can't quote her, but I'm quoting Lauren quoting her. And that really gives me strength to say, you know what, none of that matters. None of it. So I have come to peace, and I am today now not haunted by my childhood. And I'll say it's because I processed it journaling on this journey that came, from that came my memoir. So I'll say I'm as healed as I can be at this point, just trying to now really double, triple down on healing the world, helping other
Yeah.
people.
Let's stay on the education side of this still for a little bit. Like I think all of this is very poignant for the time. Just the fact that we cross paths to talk about all this, and even so, the latest, reporting, or I guess studying into the American education system, pointed to the fact that only about 35% of American 12th graders are reading at or above proficient levels. Like it seems like our right now, and it's not like this is new news to anyone. Like I think people have been aware that our education system, it hasn't been doing hot for a while, but I mean, that's the lowest that it's been in like 30 years.
It's heartbreaking.
And you already touched on the role of these life skills and helping, that is almost a more foundational set of skills that helps you be more proficient in learning other skills in life, whether that be your literacy or, learning how to study and assess your time and manage your time in college or in life later on. Like, are you hearing from, I would imagine, having served this many students, that you're hearing from the teachers as well, even on sticking points that they're having that are contributing to these really like depressing outcomes for students?
So part of the results, when people go there, they'll see part of that is, are kids coming to class? Are they getting better grades? Are they graduating? Children, especially in this complicated, often so depressing world, want to know that they matter, right? This is why kids take their lives. This is why kids drop out. This is why kids become bullies. They want to know that they matter. They want to know that the things that they dream about or that they see advertised are within reach. The only way they can know these things and know that school matters and that school is a stepping stone for them to get the things they want from life is by teaching life skills. And I have a story about a young person back in the 1990s who did a stepping stone goal activity. This is Markham Middle School in Watts. And he wasn't doing well. And he had the stepping stone. His stepping stone at the very top, this is an overcoming obstacles activity sheet, was graduate from high school, right? Because ultimately he said he wanted to be a lawyer, but he wanted to graduate from high school. And then he backed it all the way down and he realized he needed to get an alarm because his mother wasn't waking him up in the morning to get him to school on time. Something as simple as an alarm clock was a life changer for this child.
He has the first link in that chain, and
That's
without
right.
it, the chain
Baby
falls.
steps, stepping stones for all of us.
Well, and yeah, deconstructing a problem like that really is, if you've never been walked through the fact that, okay, no, you have to stop and think about, it's not just think about the thing, but why is the thing happening? How is the thing happening? But this is something I've done a lot of in therapy, over the years since I shot myself. Obviously, it's a different capacity, but like that is a skill to learn how to think, which you went to college for 4 years to learn how to think. It's neat, I guess. On what level, or are you pushing for this to be integrated into school systems at this point? Are they reaching out to you guys? How does all of that work?
It's been fascinating. So in the very beginning, I literally had to beg. I just put on my soft shoe and did a dance. I did anything like, please, please, Dr. Barner at Manual Arts High School. I literally begged him. I said, I promise you, because everybody was coming. This is after Rodney King. This is after whether you call it a riot or an uprising, this is after the torment that Los Angeles went through in the early 1990s. Overcoming obstacles was started. And he didn't want another program. And I said, I promise you, this is not another program. This is a curriculum that's going to help your students. It'll change the school. And after that first semester, he became our biggest proponent, our biggest cheerleader. So trying to even explain what life skills were back in the early 1990s, educators now know what it is. There's advisory periods with not enough content. There's freshman seminars, but what they need to do, and this is part of why I wrote Packets of Hope, they need to know that there's something out there that doesn't cost them thousands of dollars. We made overcoming obstacles free very early in the life of this nonprofit organization, because even a few $100s for curricula was too much money for a strapped school district. And that was a very significant change for access for schools. But then the internet made everything accessible. So now India, Australia, Canada, Thailand, Vietnam, Germany, we're having schools all over the world now downloading our curriculum, and all over the United States, because it's free and it's available free online.
Yeah. Have in getting it out to so many countries and all the, I think you said 36 translations at this point, like,
Yeah.
have you noticed across, has there been any difference in efficacy across the different cultural bounds? Because, some of their familial structures are different, and obviously the culture in general might be different. Have you noticed any big differentiations in that?
So we haven't done any studies internationally. We do know that in Australia, very dear friends of mine, educators out of Australia, a mother and a daughter, took the US curriculum and did a cultural translation for their country. And that has helped greatly. So words that we use, they have different words for that, or spellings, OU versus O. Those kinds of nuances can make something unfamiliar become familiar. So we're now actively engaged in that. But I will say that here in the United States, whether it's urban, suburban, or rural, whether it's the smartest, the highest IQ, the lowest IQ, the richest kid, the poorest kid, a black child, brown, yellow, red, white, all children, because we've seen it over decades, all children benefit from life skills education.
Yeah. And are you guys running off of grants and donations? Is that how you're able to keep this free for everybody?
So our board provides all of the funding. We used to have fundraising events and raise money in the corporate world, and anybody listening who does that, and maybe you're doing that for one of you, for a not-for-profit, it is horribly difficult. And gosh, yeah, I don't miss those days. So through board giving, we're able to, and by staff working remotely, we're able to keep our overhead very low and provide operational dollars year in and year out through our board. And we're very grateful for that.
That's awesome. How big is your like on staff team that's getting paid?
Gosh, I love these questions, because what I hope is somebody's listening, and that, or you have me on again. My husband would say that nobody wanted his senior advice when he retired. I have so much advice and guidance for not-for-profit people. So we, over the years at our largest, we had, I think, 21 staff and 11 offices. A lot of that was volunteer space, but still, it was a high overhead. And we kept cutting staff back and offices back because we're spending money, raising money instead of on program and operations. We now have 3 staff members, and everybody works from home. And then we have consultants. So we've got a company, a global company that does our translations. We've got volunteer legal team. We have accountants that don't charge us what they would charge the Bloomberg Foundation. We have people that work with us as volunteers on an advisory level. So we've learned how to keep our costs down, and certainly having everything available for free online takes a lot of work out for us. And printing, those expenses are gone.
I'm so glad we were able to get into this. I've been the benefactor of from or the beneficiary of a lot of nonprofits since I lost my sight, and obviously you see the gamut from good to bad and everything in between. But I just between you impact wise numerically on the number of students that you're impacting as opposed to the staffing that you have is just it's important to hear. Even I went skiing back on Wednesday at a nonprofit that I hadn't been to in a long time. They have 2 people on staff and 430 something volunteers, and you're like, that is how a nonprofit should be run. Like you said, the money should be going to programming. Obviously there will be overhead, but like that should be a primary goal in the undercurrents of the nonprofit. Is how can, instead of maximizing your growth and the money coming in from fundraising, it should be how can we make this more and more efficient?
Absolutely. And I don't want to say that corporate America has figured that out, or the corporate world, because there's a lot of excess in a lot of companies. But yeah, for the not-for-profit, which to me is just such an important sector, it's so near and dear to my heart, being cost effective with other people's money, believing in my mission, it just means so much to me. So kudos to that group with all those volunteers. That's awesome.
Yeah. And if anyone else in Colorado is listening, that was Ignite out at Eldora Ski Resort. I should have said that when I brought it up. But just, and I like, even with you guys, I get some people have to get paid. Like you can't, if you're at the head of the nonprofit, like how can you run that thing if that is not your sole job, right? Well, at a certain scale, you're gonna to have paid people, but it should all be very deliberate and calculated, like it sounds like you guys have done, especially with downsizing. I mean, it's just it's neat to hear. So
Thank you.
kudos to you too.
Thank
But
you.
so what else before I want to start digging into some of these, you know, if you're comfortable talking about it, losing your husband and battling cancer and everything else, but is there anything that I've missed on the overcoming obstacles side of things?
I think you covered it beautifully.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you mentioned you were your caregiver for your husband for several years. What what was that like? What occurred that made that need to happen?
My husband was older than I by 28 years. I thought, even despite the age gap, I would go first because I had had breast cancer. But as he went into his late 80s, he developed mixed dementia, Alzheimer's, and vascular dementia. And for anybody who's experienced that, it's a truly horrible way to die for the person who has it and for the person giving care to that person. For me, because I had the great fortune of finding my soulmate, seeing him slip away from me was just horrible. I wasn't able, despite my life skills, to find enough help. So I quite literally was, for the most part, a full-time caregiver. We had some folks come in, but he didn't want anyone else helping him. He only wanted me. So it was horrible. It was heartbreaking. And then my whole world became my husband and taking care of him. And when he left me, I was angry. I was angry that he left me, and I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what to do with my life, and I literally just wanted to die. I wanted to go too.
Out, gosh, there's a lot there outside of just obviously watching your husband deteriorate. Uh, I guess I think about some of this stuff a lot from both sides. So I'm curious with all of it, obviously, in hearing what it's like. But so my mom has Huntington's disease, and I do too. So she's now in the, it is manifesting in her. It will still be quite some time before it manifests in me, but it deteriorates you over time. It begins as movement and behavioral and speech issues, and as your brain tissue continues to die, reduces you to a vegetative state in like in the final years of it. And so it's kind of this nasty, nasty thing. You even said it, like you wanted to die after losing him. How do you even handle that? Especially even after everything else of watching that, him degrade, but then that was all of your time was also in him, right? And then
Yeah.
now all of that's gone.
Yeah. So I then had to lose that upper half of my lung, and then I had to go through chemo. So I lost John in November and was diagnosed with lung cancer in January and had surgery on my birthday in March. And then it was months of chemo, which everybody's journey with chemo is different. Mine was truly horrible. And the only way I got through all that I went through, and I'm sorry for you, Zach, and all that you've had to deal with, and now learning about your mom and what you have now as well. I look at it as everybody's got something, everybody's going to be taken out of this world with something. I don't know if it's better to know what we've got or not, but this is what just makes me go all in with trying to help others. And that's how I felt peace and purpose,
Yeah.
by helping other people. I wasn't going to get out of bed and do anything for myself. It wasn't working. But a friend said, you need to travel, get out of your home. My doctors encouraged me to get out of my home. I had been a shut-in for 5 years. And then this friend, Sandy, a teacher, former teacher, said, travel with purpose. And that's where the whole concept of taking life skills information in a packet and bringing it to every port on something my husband and I had wanted to do, a world trip, seemed to be the right move. So I had my purpose. And before that, it was just baby steps. It was going back to basic life skills. My friend Jean said, look, you don't have to go out and have a picnic with 100 people. Join me in this. It was an isolated little cafe. Sit at this table and let's have, I think it was a yogurt cup and a cup of coffee. That was my baby step to get me out of Leon.
Wow. And that just built momentum.
Built momentum. Another friend invited me out. Friends older than I am walked with me. I wasn't able to walk a block without feeling unsteady. My husband had one of those drive rollators for years. His was this mocha brown. I got myself a red one during chemo.
Like a Corvette.
I had a red Ford Falcon growing up and got teased horribly for that. I just went right in on the red one. You can't miss that. It's like, yeah, I've got a rollator. You can't miss it. It's red. And it was super cool. So my friends took me for walks, and it was the love of friends and family, surrounding myself with positive people, positive things, which is what the overcoming obstacles educators are teaching their students. Positive people, positive things made the difference for me, and it's making the difference for kids.
Yeah. I so you said a couple things there specifically that I want to key in on, and I'm curious just to hear. I'm hearing some pretty big parallels, I think, in turn, obvious, entirely different situations, but in the way that we've processed things. And so I'm curious to hear where you've come from on this. When that realization that everyone has something, whether it's, personal or like in their family, right? Whether it be breast cancer or blindness or the Huntington's disease thing, like for you, because I only realized this or like came to terms with it, I struggled with horrendous alcoholism for like 2.5 years after I was blind. And while I was trying to get sober, got diagnosed with the Huntington's disease, and it got, the wheels came off after that. But as I finally started making progress and getting sober and then stayed sober, was part of it was realizing that I wasn't, that everyone has something, like you said, that every family has some horrendous thing in their genetics that rears its ugly head. But for you to have reached that after everything else, like, do you remember what made that happen?
Absolutely. So I did this whole journey. It was close to 4 months on the Queen Anne its maiden world voyage, and I learned to live again. My sister Jane came with me, and she's very social. So when I got on the ship, I couldn't even engage with people in conversation. I had forgotten all of that. Like I couldn't have done this. Um, Speaking with you even, I couldn't engage with people. I couldn't make eye contact. But over that time, watching her, I started to live again, literally. And then I had to walk through my door at home, and I was coming back. We landed in Brooklyn. I live in the Upper West Side of Manhattan. And I remember walking through my door, fearing it because all of these memories of my husband's passing and chemo and just all of that was just so heavy on my heart. But then what I realized, having made this world journey and all these ports, it was horribly difficult to be on this ship for all that time and the things I experienced, but also to deliver these packets was very difficult. So I had this renewed sense of strength, and I thought, I can walk through this door now, and all of that is mine to shape. Yeah, I'm down 2 breaths, half a lung, my oxygen, which is my husband, but I just did this massive journey and I made it. I'm back.
I'm back, baby.
And I've got all these issues, but I could do it. I just felt empowered. I was empowered to keep doing my work, not to go party. No, I was back, and someone's going to take me out. It could be now on the ice, a bus coming along, and I slip. It's morbid thought, but it's crazy out there.
It is crazy out there.
It's
Yes.
crazy. We just had an ice rain. Oh my God. But I am going to, yeah, I'm going to live each day to its fullest and make the most of every day.
No, it's just I was so excited to talk with you because reading about you, I was like, this lady's an ass kicker. And I didn't even, I knew you'd had cancer. I didn't know you'd had cancer multiple times and of different types. I try and go into these with enough information to ask the right questions, but not asking questions I know the answers to. So this has been like altogether more than I had even hoped for in a conversation with you. And you're just frank about everything, and I appreciate it. It's very refreshing, and I admire you for having just round after round keep coming back. I know it can't be all sunshine and rainbows every day, but like you're a stud.
Coming from you, that's huge, man. So thank you, and right back at you. And it's not puppies and kittens, as my brother George is saying. No, it's not all puppies and kittens. And instead of crying every day, I'll cry every other day. And if I think about it, and talking about the loss of my husband, I wish I could just not think about those things and just go about each day, um, but I can't, because then my purpose is gone. I want to continue the work that meant so much to both of us, and to help other people and repair our world for whatever time I have left. This is what makes me happy. And what I share with other people is when you get outside your head and find purpose, whether it's going to a shelter and helping animals, or skiing with children, teaching them how to ski, teaching kids to read, whatever it might be. going outside ourselves, I have found, is the way to find happiness,
Yeah.
contentment.
And I think it's a balance too, because like you have to, if you do not set aside time to let yourself feel that pain and actually get to a point where you are through it, like it will rear its head somewhere else. So you have to do that, but you can't let it cripple you.
Oh, that's it. And that's why being on this ship, when I told my doctor what my plan was, he said, "Ah, that's perfect," because I had time to think, to process things. And this is what educators of overcoming obstacles try to impart or do impart on their students. Quiet time. You got to cut the noise off
Mhm.
and have these thoughts in your head about what's important to you, what do you value. So being in touch with that, these sea days, when you're crossing the globe, there's a lot of sea days. You have a lot of time to think. And my nephew Jeremy had given me a journal as I headed off on this trip, and I'd never journaled before, and he had. He said, "Aunt Jill, just when you get on the ship, journal. It's going to help you." And I was like, "Oh, yeah. I'll never journal." I was so depressed when I got on that ship. I was so deeply sad that out of desperation, I just tried journaling. And then I had to shift from this beautiful journal with the map of the world to my computer, and that's how that book was born.
Wow. That is cool. I get like you were almost forced into it. It's just the the way that things work out is so just how they happen to play out into even kind of with, your bullying experiences and then your own path in college all kind of culminating into things. It's weird when it does play out like this because unfortunately it doesn't play out this way for everybody, but it's kind of beautiful when it's if you can stop and remove yourself. It's easier for it to be beautiful for me probably to having not gone through any of that, but I just I mean I can't wait to listen to it. I didn't realize, you and I had talked about offline that you had sent me the link to the audiobook and I'd missed that somehow, but I will be listening to it and I'm very excited, especially it getting to read it after having met you and got to talk about all this is just it's going to be so cool. So,
Thank you. Thank you. And it could be on me. Maybe I just talked to you in my head, Zach. And I didn't say Google Link, but I did the audiobook recording. So the book is free. Packets of Hope is free for everyone. But if somebody wants a physical copy, they have to pay the cost of printing and shipping. And then if they want the audiobook, Kindle doesn't let you put that up for free. I think or maybe it's free if you have an Audible subscription. But
okay.
I think there is a cost for that, but hopefully you find it worth it.
Okay. Yeah, when you had mentioned like physically delivering packets, what were these packets that you were delivering at port?
So when you're, for instance, during chemo, my purpose was I get up every morning and I personally emailed superintendents across the United States. I picked a state. The team at OO helped me find the email addresses, and then thousands of superintendents were sent personal emails by me. That was my reason to get up every morning. But outside of the United States, to do outreach, I couldn't even find mailing addresses that were correct. I couldn't find
Yeah.
any email addresses. So the idea was go to these ports. The Queen Anne Maiden World Voyage was 26 ports. And the packets was a personal letter from me explaining why I started up OO, why I started up Overcoming Obstacles, and our impact, the 180 million students and hundreds of thousands of educators. And below that was a flyer, something attractive to get their attention with the website address, and then a card that said my title, Life Skills Ambassador, paper clipped. That was it. Thin A4 envelope. And then that's what I walked into or tried to deliver in every port
That is so
that I could reach.
cool. Yeah. So what was that? That all was born out of you having done the emails and chemo and then your friend saying travel with a purpose?
Yeah. That's it.
That is so beautiful. That is cool. Oh, wow.
And ignorance is bliss, right? Because had I known, I mean, what balls, what stupidity, really? Because I couldn't walk
balls.
yeah,
It's balls.
I couldn't balls, said the queen. I couldn't walk into a Department of Education here, certainly not in Washington, D.C., and, ask to see the head of education and give them a packet. So I clearly wasn't thinking well. My blood work had tanked. I was not doing well. Couldn't walk a flight of stairs on Queen Anne. So no, I wasn't thinking clearly. Nobody at OO was going to say, oh, Jill, Vinny was going to say, no, don't do it. It's like, yeah, go, you can do it. And the rest is literally history.
Gosh, that's such a cool story. Did you come back from that feeling like you'd kind of been able to close out that chapter?
When I walked through the door, I say I felt like I won the lottery because I never thought that I would leave my home, let alone do what I did, meet the people that I met, had the experiences, and do the outreach. So what makes it winning the lottery, just from something deeply personal, in Samoa, the Minister of Education was not there, but his assistant was. And she and her assistant spoke with me for a half hour, wanted to know all about overcoming obstacles and my personal story. At the end, she asked me, do you still have cancer? I said, yes. She said, can we pray over you? And I was told, don't shake hands, don't hug.
Yeah.
And for a split second, I was going to say no. I said yes. And I wept. Talk about catharsis. I wept like a baby with these lovely women coming in and, I don't know, 15 minutes, whatever. It was praying over me to, heal, to continue my journey. It was so soul enriching for me. And then when I came home, I write about Rosanna. One of our board members was an overcoming obstacles student, grew up in the Philippines, and her family moved to Jersey City when she was a child. She was on the phone call with Vinny and me when we met with the heads of education for the Philippines after dropping off the packet there. And now they've asked us to translate all of the curricula, close to 2,000 pages, into Tagalog, their main language. And next week, we're sending all of those translations to them.
Oh, no way.
Lord.
That is
My goodness.
Incredible.
A lottery right there.
Yeah. You need to get back on another boat and go over there and see it in action.
Zach, as you'll hear when you listen to the Audible, I did. Two couples on that first journey invited me to travel with them over the summer. So I came back in May and then regrouped. I had my CT scan, and my doctor said my condition with the cancer in the lower left was stable. And the idea was, until it grows into stage 2, I'm doing nothing because I have to live my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back out again.
God, you're a badass. You are. That is just, oh my gosh. I guess I had assumed you were in remission until you mentioned that these ladies prayed over you and that you still have it. Like,
Oh yeah. And the word, so yeah, people talk about cancer survivor and remission. It's just constant fear because, and I try just not to think about it, right? Anybody with cancer knows. They said, oh, wait till 5 years. It could still come back. So you'll have to stay vigilant. You have to stay on top of your health. I didn't. If you had asked me while I was taking care of my husband for my birthday, I would have given you his. I had just forgotten who I was, and I could give you his and all of his medical history, and I ignored my own. We can't do it. It's like the airplane where they say, put your mask on first, and then your child or whoever's next to you that you're taking care of. So I forgot that lesson, but I encourage anyone watching, listening to this, to put their mask on first.
and ask for help like you're
and ask for
contagious.
help.
Jeez. You just, do you mind talking about the breast cancer stuff at all?
Please, my life is now an open book.
Okay. I've, over the past couple of years, I've met two women who have struggled with it, and they both had double mastectomies. And like these ladies I just met this week, the other one was several years ago. But we had a very it's made me think about it a lot. Outside of cancer is obviously terrifying. Everyone's terrified of getting cancer. It's a horrendous thing, but I don't even remember how we got on the subject, but when we did get on the subject of the double mastectomy and everything the challenges that came with, and just the everything else that comes along with it, but the fact that and maybe this is me projecting because I'm a man, but like that is, you've lost a very feminine part of yourself. Seems like that would be a lot. I know for this woman that I spoke with, that was a very difficult thing for her, but because you've just endured all of this, can, I mean, I know I just kind of threw words out at you instead of directing a question because I wasn't planning on bringing this up. But I feel like we've reached some rapport where it's okay. So, I I mean, it sounds you had your breast cancer earlier in life. This was all,
No,
oh,
no, 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 no. It was 2022.
oh gosh,
If I
this was
have this
all,
correct, gosh.
wow.
Yeah, 2022. No, it was like rapid fire horrible. Breast cancer, lose my soulmate, lung cancer. Uh and yeah, so I just want to do you want to say more or should I respond?
Now go for it. Do your
First
thing.
of all, I'll just say men get breast cancer too. But so it's for somebody who's young, who like if I had been a young woman and hadn't met my husband and my husband had been 28 years older, my journey would have been very different. Given that I was older, my husband was older than I, he didn't care at that point that I get a double mastectomy without getting reconstruction because he just wanted me. You learn about priorities. I had the unconditional love of another person who breasts and gray hair, when you truly love someone, those things don't matter. I also didn't have the luxury of having reconstruction, if you even want to call it that, because reconstruction is a freaking nightmare for some people. I've seen those procedures go awry and create lifelong discomfort. I have a dear friend who is still suffering from a reconstruction that was done years ago. So I had to get back to being my husband's caregiver. So I left. I had barely a day in the hospital. And as soon as I could, I went back to my husband. I couldn't lift him. He's larger than I am and heavier. I wasn't able to lift him and help him for, I don't know, I think it was 2.5 weeks because I've got drains coming out of me and you'll bust your stitches and there's a protocol. So I had a lovely woman that came in and lived with us and helped me and helped John. The minute those drains came out and I was able to take care of him, no more of this lovely young woman helping us. I was back to work. If I had done reconstruction, it would have been months of not being the caregiver. So I really had no choice. And then, flat is in for a lot of celebrities. I don't think there's as much judgment on people. And at this stage of my life, I don't care. I don't care. I'm a
Yeah.
grandma and a great grandma to stepkids. I'm an aunt, and the love of my life is living with me in my heart every step that I take. And he doesn't care about
Yeah.
how I look. He just wants to know that I'm happy and doing what can bring me joy.
He sounds like someone I would have wanted to meet too.
It's
So,
amazing, amazing, beautiful.
you have just, your resiliency is insane. I thought it would be may be helpful to someone listening who is struggling with breast cancer right now to hear that, in the especially in the context of everything else that you've already shared getting through. I think that's just sometimes people need that kind of guiding torch to hear it and as a little pick me up. And I mean, what does for now, right, with the lung cancer, they just leave it and it's just everything is reactionary right now because my understanding with a lot of cancer treatment is it's not really an exact science. It's kind of we pick a strategy and throw something at it, see what happens, and react. And so since it's not growing, you guys are just playing it by ear for now.
Well, I left Sloan Kettering. They wanted me to take a chemo pill for the rest of my life. And my kidneys, well, blood work was doing terribly, but my kidneys were giving out. So I couldn't do chemo anymore. I certainly didn't want a chemo pill because then, my purpose couldn't have been realized, like helping people, sending emails, traveling to new countries, bringing overcoming obstacles, just functioning as a supporter of my friends and family. So I went over to NYU, and I can't say enough wonderful things about thoracic oncology there. My doctor, Abraham Shashua, looked at me as a human being, and he said, look, we're going to do this test, that test, and if you pass it, we'll just every few months monitor the cancer in the lower left and monitor to see if the cancer comes back. And that was the deal we struck. So now it's CT scans every few months, but until then, no radiation and no more chemo. If and when the cancer grows from stage 1 to stage 2 in the lower left, pretty much game over for me for the big traveling, at least temporarily. The cancer is in a very dangerous place in the lower left lung near the pulmonary artery. So I'm just trying to not get sick. I don't drink ever. I'm away from any pollutants and smokers, just trying to cut back on my stress and live the best life that I can, the healthiest life. So this cancer doesn't grow.
Oh, I just I admire you for that. I think mindset is everything in many contexts, and I would say perspective, and it sounds like yours is in the right place. And I just I don't know what else to say other than I admire you for it. So I appreciate you and wish you the best. And I have some friends that are in New York City, and I went and visited them last year. If I visit them again in the coming, year or so, I'd love to meet up with you for coffee or something if you happen to be in town. But
We're having lunch or dinner. I
okay,
want more time with you.
cool.
Brings us coffee, so please, you know how
Yeah,
to reach me.
yeah.
I look forward to that.
I got your contact now. So what's next for you? Where can everybody find everything that you're doing? And please brag away. Drop drop whatever you need that can send people your way.
If anyone's interested in reading Packets of Hope, it's available for free at packetsofhope.com. And then if there are any educators or concerned parents or community leaders and you want to check out the Overcoming Obstacles curriculum, you can go to overcomingobstacles.org, and then the upper right, hit enter library and just blow your mind with all of these resources that are available for free for teachers. And we have parent resources as well. And if anyone has questions, they can reach me through the Packets of Hope website.
Awesome. Anything else?
It's a pleasure and a privilege to meet you, Zach. I'm a fan. So thank you for having me on. I really appreciate learning from you.
I'm also a fan, so thank you. Just I think I've floundered my way or blundered my way through telling you how much I respect you. And so just know that I mean it all, and I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, Zach.
And thanks everyone at home for listening to another episode of Going in Blind. I think you were probably as surprised by all of this as I was. I think this work is incredibly important, and I hope to see this curriculum start to spread. I do think this is a gap that seems to be in maybe even in our culture. And this is a pretty, not pretty, it is an entirely approachable way to start inserting some of it back. So if you know any educators, please send them to the Overcoming Obstacles curriculum and get this in our school system. Because if you were paying attention at all, I think you can see the need that we have for it in this country. And please go support Jill in any other way that you can. But with all of that, I will see you next time. Please share this around, rate and review the show if you're listening, and subscribe to the channel if you're on YouTube. I'll talk to you next time.